Different levels. Within a city, there are three levels: niche, regime, and landscape. Within the landscape, we see that Rotterdam has a clear niet lullen maar poetsen mentaliteit. Rotterdam is a city of diversity with almost 175 different nationalities. A diverse city also means many different values, and possible tensions can result from this. The landscape also shows there are a couple of ongoing trends like the energy transition, circularity, urbanization, and housing shortage, forcing Rotterdammers and its inhabitants to adapt. The city of Rotterdam promotes co-creation, but it still remains questionable whether their design practices are present and attainable enough for smaller, less powerful initiatives. There is plenty of niche development and innovation going on, however it can be difficult for them to break through to the regime, with port and municipality being such a determining factor within the regime. City makers like innovation hubs have been an important incubator for smaller initiatives. It can, however, be difficult for non-maritime initiatives to be included and break through. 2 regimes. We discovered during our analysis that within Rotterdam's regime there are 2 main forces: the municipality and the port. It became apparent that both had their own vision, driving change in different directions and colliding in some areas. At the start of the analysis of Rotterdam, we decided to focus on the transition of bringing the city and the port closer together. Within the regimes are a lot of different design-enabled innovation capabilities, such as port-specific initiatives, educational institutes, NGOs, and initiatives from citizens. We can see that there is some overlap between the 2 regimes. Both want to create a climate that is good for businesses, and both at least pretend to strive for sustainability. It became clear that Rotterdam does act well as a functioning innovation system with great institutional capacity, cultural vibe, environmental awareness, social activism, and entrepreneurial culture. Value maps. After making a complete overview of the different initiatives within Rotterdam, it seemed most useful to zoom in on 1 or 2 initiatives within Rotterdam. We decided to look at transitional areas that lay in the interface of the city and the port. These were M4H and het Dakpark. We made value maps to get an overview of the different values, stakeholders, and driving forces needed for a successful transition. Based on the analysis of Dakpark, we were able to determine the steps that designers and city makers would have to go through for successful transformation that allow for the inclusion of the different stakeholders and their values and intentions. The key insight from this analysis is that there's a lot of opportunities within these transitional areas. Niche initiatives have a chance to break through, like the case of Dakpark, but transitions take a long time. Design is necessary to align all these needs and get rid of tensions by managing the stakeholders. What became apparent in the value map of the Dakpark is the fact that it runs on volunteers. Without the determination of these volunteers, this transition might not have happened. Close collaboration with other stakeholders like architects, spatial planners, municipality, port, and local residents allowed these volunteers, who became designers, to align all needs, minimize tensions, and realize their plans. The STEPI plan. In order to further analyze the neighborhood of M4H, 7 functions of port city neighborhoods have been defined which correspond to the desired functions of Rotterdam's local government. These functions are graded in order to indicate the performance of M4H. This allows us to analyze developments happening in the neighborhood. As you can see, the drawing of the cultural entrepreneurs along the other startups led to a big increase in the economic and cultural performance. The Dakpark also improved in green infrastructure and citizen participation when the construction of the Dakpark was finished. However, we suspect that this positive trend will not continue in the future. As reported in the local news, cultural entrepreneurs were forced to make place for building plans for housing and offices. Moreover, we assume this process of gentrification will proceed to force low-income inhabitants of M4H out of their home as the rent price goes up. It remains questionable whether the new generation of inhabitants will inherit this culture of volunteering to maintain the park. Blueprint. For successful transitions, it is important for niche initiatives to partially comply with the values as determined by the regimes within the city. Diving into the spatial visions created by the municipality and the port allowed us to create a blueprint that gives city designers a clear overview of the desired city-state as imagined by the municipality and port of Rotterdam. These blueprints can act as guidelines. New initiatives can adapt plans accordingly, increase the success rate of initiatives, the chances of survival and ability to break through into the regime. The blueprints can best be used simultaneously with the roadmap explained before. Recent developments in MVH. Due to recent events, we have decided to plot a timeline of what happened within the MVH area and project. The area has been in transition for a long period of time, with new initiatives setting the area and making it more attractive for residents and guests. After this increase in popularity, the value of the area has increased, and now it becomes clear what the plans for this area are. Pushing away the initiatives that caused the rise in popularity and making place for other businesses and housing. This brought up new questions for designers like, how can we increase the certainty for pioneers in a transition area? In what way does getting rid of these niche initiatives influence the popularity of this area? Or how can we transition this area while keeping the niche initiatives intact? The main insight that was obtained is the fact that the port cities are very complex, with a strong regime for both port and city. This allows growth and change, but also makes it hard to realize due to all the different stakeholders affected by the change. Co-creation is therefore essential, with communication between stakeholders as the most important element.